What's up everybody? We've got 11 tips for you today on buying the perfect projector for your home theater. Why 11 tips? I don't know, it's the list we came up with. It's probably not exhaustive. I know somebody's gonna watch this video and as soon as it's done, they're gonna leave comments that there was some other tip we forgot or whatever, but I think these are 11 really good tips. Also, I should say this is in no particular order. This is just a list we came together as a team, so don't weight this based on the order that you see it. These are just 11 helpful tips. These are things that I think would benefit all clients to understand when they're looking and shopping for projectors. So hopefully this is helpful, and it's a long list, so let's go really quick. Number one, if you're shopping for a 4K projector, make sure the projector accepts HDR. It doesn't necessarily have to accept HDR, but odds are you're gonna want HDR, and that's what you think you're getting with your 4K projector. Not all 4K projectors actually accept HDR, so make sure you get a projector that accepts HDR. Number two, it's nice if it has lens shift. It doesn't have to have lens shift, but it's really nice if it does. It gives you a lot of flexibility when you're installing a projector. Lens shift is gonna allow the lens to shift left to right and vertically up and down, and so depending on where the projector is mounted and the way that that picture is projected on the screen, it's gonna give you a lot of flexibility to dial in that picture, make sure it's hitting the screen just right without having to resort to something we call keystoning, which kind of starts manipulating the picture. So lens shift can solve a lot of headaches for you when it comes time for installation. Number three, it's really nice if it has lens memory. Now lens memory is going to be important if you care about switching between 16:9 and 235 content, or what a lot of people refer to as anamorphic content. Those are the different formats of the screen. So 16:9 is what we see on our TVs right now. If you're ever watching a movie on your TV, you'll notice sometimes there's black masking or bars above and below the picture on your TV. That content is in a 235 format or something close to 235. If you're thinking about getting a screen that's in the 235 format, you've got to have a projector that has lens memory. Number four, you want your projector to accept control. It could be IR, it could be IP, it could be serial, preferably IP or serial, but if all it's got is IR, that's better than nothing. If you're going to use a universal remote like a Harmony remote or something more sophisticated like a Crestron remote, you want that projector to accept control. It's going to really save you a lot of headaches. It's going to prevent you from having to use the projector's remote. It gives you the option to run it all through your universal remote or the app, or to use Alexa or Josh.ai to use your voice to turn the projector on and off, or to run a scene from the light switch. The projector has to accept control. So we'll make sure the projector accepts control. Number five, we want to make sure that at least one of the HDMI inputs accepts 4K. It's pretty obvious. If your projector accepts 4K, it's probably going to have an HDMI that accepts 4K, but you'd be surprised typically with a projector if it has 3 or 4 inputs, HDMI inputs, they're not all going to accept 4K. Only 1 or 2 of those HDMI inputs are going to accept 4K. You want to know that. You want to understand how many options you have for 4K inputs. Odds are you're using a surround sound receiver or video distribution, so you only have one HDMI going into the projector, but if for whatever reason you need to send multiple HDMI out to the projector, it's good to know how many 4K inputs you have, but at a minimum you want to verify that you have a 4K HDMI input on the projector. Number six, it's really cool if the projector has a 12-volt trigger. That's not critical, it's not essential, but say for example you're planning to get a roll down screen, that 12-volt trigger is going to allow the projector to trigger the screen to come down when the projector turns on and off. It's going to help you tie that all in, makes it very easy to coordinate the screen coming down anytime the projector turns on or the screen going up and the projector turns off. That's all driven from the 12-volt trigger on the projector, so it's a really cool feature. Again, it's not absolutely critical or absolutely essential, particularly if you don't have a roll down screen, but it's always nice the projector has a 12-volt trigger. Number seven, it's nice if it has a custom mounting plate for installation. It doesn't have to have a custom mounting plate. There's a lot of really good universal mounts out there. We use one from Peerless AV that we love, but what you'll find is that projector to projector, those mounts don't sit totally flush on the projector, and sometimes it's hard to get the projector to be totally centered and balanced, and over time the projector will sag or tilt up. You're going to be constantly tweaking that, and sometimes depending on the installation we've got to really be precise about where the top of the projector is hung. Notice you'll see applications where the top of the projector's got to be hung right at the top of the screen. It needs to be very precise. Those projectors that come with a custom mounting plate usually install a little easier. Typically it's a little bit more pleasing aesthetically, and it usually holds that installation position a lot longer than some of the universal mounts you might play with. Number eight, it's really nice if it has advanced color calibration settings like ISF calibration settings, so you can go in and really dial in the colors, calibrate it to the room, to the projector, and really make those colors pop so you maximize the color in the image that's on the screen, really get those inky black levels that you want, those bright whites, and really have a picture that all of your friends will say, wow. Number nine, it's really good to understand how the projector is going to vent. Based on your installation, you may need a projector to vent either out the back or out the sides or out the front. That can have an effect on the type of projector you buy for your installation. If you're going to take your projector and butt it right up against the back wall of the room, you probably don't want a projector that vents out the back of the projector. It's going to heat up, it's going to be too hot. You want a projector that's going to vent differently. So it's important to understand the way that the vents are working on the projector and make sure that matches your application. And number 10 is lumens, and if it doesn't say ANSI lumens, don't pay attention to it. It's basically whatever the marketing person wanted to say it was. ANSI lumens gives it some credibility. 1 lumen is the equivalent of a candle, the light that a candle puts off. So if you have 1,000 ANSI lumens, it's like having 1,000 candles. That's how bright the lamp is in your projector. If it's a dedicated theater room and you've got no light, doors closed, it's gonna be totally dark in that room, you're gonna find projectors anywhere from 12 to 1800 lumens. It's gonna be a great projector for you. If you have a lot of ambient light in the room, you're probably gonna want more of a flamethrower, something approaching 3000 ANSI lumens, or like a laser that can really put a lot of light out on that screen to help cut through all the ambient light that's in the room. So lumens are very, very important. Make sure you pay attention to lumens. Make sure the lumens for your projector match the room in the application and how much ambient light you have in the room. It will make all the difference in the world to you. And number 11, the last one, is the throw distance. This is really, really important. There's a great tool out there. It's on projectorcentral.com. If you go to projectorcentral.com, there's a tab for calculator. You go to the calculator tab, you can select the specific model of projector that you want. You can tell it the format of the screen. It's a 16:9 or 235 screen, and then it's going to tell you how far back the projector can go to fill the screen size that you think you want, the optimum distance. And it's going to show you, hey, like, look, if you want a 120 inch screen, this is the optimum distance for a 120 inch screen. If you want 150 feet, well, you can get it there, but it's not going to be bright enough projectors. So you probably want a projector with more lumens or whatever. It's going to help you really dial in the projector, the throw distance, and the screen size, kind of maximize all that together. It's a phenomenal tool. We use it all the time, and it's very, very precise. We've actually done installs where we were like, no, it doesn't know what it's talking about, and then we showed up and sure enough, the projector couldn't fill the screen and we had to make modifications. So it's very, very accurate. It's worth using. We love it. We swear by it. Now there's a couple of other things we didn't cover. We didn't cover contrast ratio. Contrast ratio is obviously very, very important. That's sort of like your high dynamic range. Just talking about how black your blacks are, like if they're inky blacks, and if at the same time you have really, really bright whites, what's that contrast ratio? That's going to do a lot for how crisp and sharp the picture looks. The more detail we have in our inky blacks and the brighter our whites can get without clipping out, the more detail we're going to have in that projector. So contrast ratio is absolutely huge, but when you look at the specs, they all say like it's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio, which really doesn't mean anything to any of us. So my recommendation is to read the reviews. If you get a chance, go look at the projectors and see for yourself what the contrast is, what the blacks look like, what the whites look like, and get some personal input. There's also this whole thing of whether or not it's an LCOS projector, DLP projector, a dealer projector. We're not going to get into that here. We'll tackle that in another video. It's important and it matters. There's a trainer for Epson, a guy named Jeff, really, really bright guy, and he talks about this. The medicine always has symptoms. So whatever we do in terms of theater, for projection, for screens, there's always trade-offs. So one technology is going to enhance some elements of the projector, but it's also going to have some pitfalls, okay? One of the things that you're going to get is the rainbow effect or color banding. Another projector is going to have what they call a pixel shift, and so the pixels over time kind of start to droop and come together, and you have to do things to adjust that. All the different projector techs have pros and cons, and what the projector manufacturers are doing is maximizing the strengths of that technology and trying to minimize the weaknesses of that technology, but they all have them. So I've had Sony projectors that won awards for me, I've had JVC projectors that won awards for me, I've had Wolf projectors that won awards for me, we've had Epson projectors that won awards for us. There's a lot of really, really good projectors out there. My best advice for you is to try and match the best gear or the best technology, so the best projector, the best screen for your budget and your application, and that's going to make you the most happy. That's not to say that these other things aren't important, but they're only as important as it helps you fit the right gear to your application. So there it is, 11 things you can look at when you're buying a projector. Again, that's not meant to be an exhaustive list. There's a lot more we can dive into with projectors. We've got a lot more videos coming on this topic, but hopefully that's a good starter. As always, we appreciate the support more than we can say. We'd love it if you'd like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, and we'll see you next time.